Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of CookieCast. Today on CookieCast, I've got a doozy of an episode today. We're talking like an hour and a half long. An hour and a half for me, talking to you, lovely people, about... The ramblings are getting away from me on this one, I'm afraid. Talking about my children not liking me. That's how we start. That's how this one starts. Corker. Wanting to buy stuff and the trials and tribulations of thinking about buying things. Getting jobs done. You know, real rock and roll stuff. Speaking of rock and roll, I went to a gig. TV, games, no movies, I'm afraid. Before we start, please do consider like, share, subscribe and comment. Leave a review where you can leave a review. And share this podcast around. Go on, be a dear. Right, let's get started because this one is a long one. Here we go. This is CookieCast, The Darkest Timeline. Hello, how you doing? Oh, I had to sneak up on it there. I was procrastinating a little bit. Same old. Never changes. I swear I'm going to get started early. Never do. So... this week's a bit of a weird one. Like it accelerated over the course of... I was going to say this evening, but I only added one thing to it. I thought I was done with the list. I hoped I was done with the list. I was ending on a high, kind of. I was going out strong. It was all going to be great. It was going to be, let's face it, not positive. It's not what we're here for, is it? It's not what we're about. And then, yeah. Oh, dear. Right, okay. I'm starting to think my children don't like me. No, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, oh, why do you say that? That's not nice. Why would you think that? Why would you say that? What makes you feel that way? What makes you, you know, what's your thought process there? And the reason that I think this way, I feel this way, is because that's basically what they tell me at all times. So, I'm probably gonna have to leave a child out of this equation because, yeah. There was a series of days and a series of things happened. By the way, this is nothing new to me. This is not my first rodeo. I had a child who just couldn't stand me for 2.5 years. That was how the relationship was. And I kind of resigned myself to it in the end. I was kind of like, well, yeah, sure, you know, you look at all the components, you look at all the parts, you look at all the moving pieces, and you go, well, yeah, of course that's why you would think that. Of course that's why you would feel that way. What else am I to expect? And just sort of got on with it and tried. And every day it was like, oh, you know, I'll try this today, or I'll try and do this, or try and do that, or try and do the other. And nothing worked. It all backfired. And then one day, a situation arose. And me and said child were sort of put into a position where we were forced to spend time together. This is exaggerated for effect. But we were put in a position where it was just me and her, and we basically had to get on with it. Now, I just went about doing what I would do, sort of dialed up a bit. But as a child, she had to kind of get over it. And that's what she did. And that started what turned into a beautiful friendship. And it's had its ups and downs, but ultimately it's brought us to this point. However, for effect, that child will have to be left out of this equation. So we're down to 3 children. So the first one had all of her disliking me. Got it out of the way early. At least I would have hoped. Next child down on the list, I'll have to skip for a moment. Me and my youngest child have fallen out, I think, every day for about 2 weeks at this point in time. It's basically reached a point where I realised today that we don't interact anymore. We have very little moment-to-moment interactions, because all of our interactions are me either trying to speak to him, trying to get him to do something, or get him to not do something, or, you know, child stuff. And him telling me no, or some child version of telling me to basically go fuck myself, and then we have a big falling out. Because then he just cries about everything, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I don't know what you want from me. And that's kind of that. I went to my youngest 2 daughters' parents' evenings. And my youngest daughter, her parents' evening went along the lines of, yep, great, wonderful, fantastic, brilliant. Couldn't ask for anything better. Cool. Went to my other daughter's parents' evening. Fantastic, wonderful. Great. Couldn't ask for anything better. Brilliant. So, you know, the way the rules are in our house, you get a good parents' evening or report, you can have a treat. Within reason, as I've said before, I don't want anybody asking for any ponies anytime soon. So, you know, it can, and I've always been very clear, it can be, you know, you can ask for a toy. I can say no, but you can ask for a toy, or, you know, a movie, or a trip out, or a meal, or whatever it is that, sorry, but, somebody needs to tell me I'm crazy on this one. My computer decided to shut down. Blue screen of doom. Shut down. at that point where it just stopped and I started talking about something else, computer shut down, blue screen and doom. Yeah. Told me it needed to reboot. And that was that. I'm like, I better not have lost that podcast. It's saying both things. One, there are file inconsistencies, and two, it's managed to recover the file. So fingers crossed, everything I've recorded up to this point, groovy. Here's my question. How am I supposed to feel that when my computer turns back on, it's trying to sell me backup recovery through Microsoft, and when I say, no, I'm good, thanks, it then goes on to, again, try to sell me backing up my files, because it's okay, because you get 5 gig for free, yeah, and then you have to start paying for it, because of, you just so happen to have had a completely random crash. Another side note. Recently, I unleashed what I have been working on for quite some time, which is my master conspiracy. I have been piecing it together for a while now, and I was finally ready to unleash it on the world. And by world, I mean I totally am. And what I expect from pretty much all of my conspiracies is people to go, you're mental. And at the end of it, I went, so what do you think is my latest conspiracy? And her response was, it's not really a conspiracy when it's basically fact. I was like, that wasn't the answer I was expecting. So, back to it. The rules are very simple. You do well, get a treat. Yeah, it's maybe not the best, but it's been in place for X number of years, and I imagine in years to come my children are going to start being like, oh, there's that thing I really want. Oh, maybe if I work really hard at school and get a good report and a good whatever, then I can ask my dad, because that's the deal we've got. And as I can, categorically 100% say from my own experience, that doesn't work. So I said to my youngest daughter, I was like, hey, you got an amazing parent-teacher report type thing. What is it that you would like? What would you like for a treat? What is it you would like? And her response, almost without skipping a beat, was for you to be nice. I was like, oh, okay. Am I not nice usually? You have that sort of picture image in your head. I will never tell you I'm perfect. I will tell you I'm always working at being a better parent, and always failing. But I think that's the job. I personally think I'm a million times better than I used to be, and I personally think if you look at the upbringing that I had, I'm a million miles away from that. But that's my personal opinion. That's obviously something that I would think. I was like, so what? I'm not nice. You don't think I'm nice? It's like, no, but you could be kind. Like, oh, okay. I was like, something else maybe? It's like, you could be respectful. I was like, what? She was like, these are the things we've been learning at school. I was like, all right, okay. I mean, I was meaning like a toy or something. So, you know, got this situation with my youngest. I've now got this. My youngest daughter's telling me I'm not nice. I'm like, okay, cool. So then I see my middle daughter at school. I was like, hey, I saw your teacher. She absolutely fantastic, absolute glowing report. It was the best. And you know the way we work it. If you've done good in school, you can have a treat. So you got a few days to think about it. You know, maybe you want to do something like on Friday or something. You can have a treat. You know, you can whatever. I was like, maybe you want to join your sister in her treat because she wanted me to be nice. Now I said it in that joking kind of manner, and my daughter went ha ha ha, and then she went off in school, and I was like, oh, that was one of those, oh, I see that you're making a joke, but maybe you should take it seriously, because, yeah, it'd be nice if you could be nice. I'm like, okay. Yeah, that's, it's been an eye-opener. It's been a real eye-opener. So yeah. I've had this thing over the last couple of weeks. A notification from Steam. Steam were like, hey, this game's available if you want it. I'm like, thanks. I'm like, you're just telling me this randomly, and then obviously you sort of piece it together. It's like, okay, so at some point I've seen this game advertised in some description, whether it's through some sort of like preview video or whatever. I must have put it on my wish list at some point, and they were informing me this game was available. So I'm like, oh, okay, that's good. And they're like, so do you want it then? Because it's got money off. I was like, oh, okay, it's got money off. That's cool. That's interesting. So I watched the video for it. I was like, I mean, yeah, I kind of want that. And then it begins. So basically, it's one of those situations where I'm like, something's come along and do you want this game? And I'm like, yeah, I want that game. And that's basically the state of things for the last 2 weeks. I've been like, oh, I should sort out that game. Oh, it's a little bit more expensive than I'd like to pay for a game. Oh, but it's got money off. Oh, I should get that. Oh, maybe if I've got money in my Steam account and I've got enough to cover it, but it's going to use a lot of that, that buffer. So, maybe I should. I wonder if I top up the account a bit more. If I top the account up a bit more, then maybe if I then use some of it, then it's a little bit of a buffer. And okay, maybe I should watch a review. A review of it and see what that's like. Oh, this review's from 2 years ago. How is this possible? Okay, so right, okay, so it must have gone into early access. So it went into early access a couple of years ago, and then they must have sort of worked on it and built on it from there. The thing is that video doesn't look much different to the video that's like the trailer for the game, so I can't imagine they've changed much. Okay, well, why is it cheap? I know it's got money off, but it's not releasing at the sort of price of a full-blown game. Oh, right, okay, so it's considered to be an indie game. Oh, okay, I watched this review. This review is saying that it's a great game, it's a wonderful game, it's a brilliant game. However, Yeah, okay, however doesn't sound good. What's your however? Well, the however is that there's a steep learning difficulty. Ugh, that's not great. Okay, I'll leave that there for now. I think that was probably day 1. Day 2. I should really see about it. Maybe I should compare reviews, because obviously, the thing with reviews is like, not all reviews are the same. Somebody might think that the game is difficult, but somebody else might think that it's actually really easy, and they might be a similar sort of game to me. Maybe the person that thought it was really difficult never played a game like that before. Maybe that's the problem. I should check out another review. Maybe there's like a proper full-blown preview. I don't want to watch a walkthrough, because if I watch a walkthrough, then I'll potentially spoil the game for myself if I end up buying it. Okay. Buying it, yeah. I need to work out what to do about the money. I've got plenty in the Steam account. There's enough money in the Steam account to get the game. It will take sort of 2/3 of the account away. What about... what if there's something that comes out that I need, or if there's like a sale on a game that there's a couple of games that I'm waiting for to go like right down in price so that I can pick those up, get them added to the library. Yeah, okay. But then you've got that thing where, it's not always through Steam, so it might go on sale somewhere else. You've got a couple of other like big websites that sort of do those big sales, and you can pick up a few games doing it through that way. Is this game Steam Deck compatible? Because that might be the real sort of selling point. If it's Steam Deck compatible, then the compatibility side of things really going to just sort of change the way I think about buying it. And okay, so Steam Deck compatible. Okay, right. Okay, so there was a game I bought recently that said it was completely unsupported and turned out to be fine on the Steam Deck. And then obviously you get those ones that they say, this does say it's unsupported, and realistically it is unsupported. But that's not a problem for this game. Okay, Steam Deck compatible. That's going to be a good start. Okay, yeah. Maybe I should have a look and see. Does it feature anywhere else? Now then, I wonder if Humble have got it, because if Humble have got it, then I'll get the additional discount that I get from being a Humble Choice member. So if I'm a Humble Choice member, I'm pretty sure it's like, is it 10 or is it 15? Because it's got 10% off through Steam. If it's got 15 off, then that's obviously that bit more money saved, but then I'll have to pay the money out as actual money doing it through Humble. If I do it through Humble and get the 15%, okay, so it might be worth taking the hit there, because I was going to top up the Steam account, and if I top up the Steam account, then that's also money. Probably won't bother getting a voucher for that. If I don't get a voucher for that, then yeah, because I'd have to go and pick the voucher up. Yeah, that was day 2. Do we remember the point where I said about 2 weeks ago this started? I have started to sort of see and realise, like, the things I was talking about previously about having that sort of, like, that, for want of a better way of putting it, that shopaholic mentality. There was a point in time where I managed to convince myself that I didn't need the game because it was probably rubbish. But then it kept popping up as, like, I think I'd ended up putting it in my basket, so every time I went to Steam, it was just there, taunting me. The outcome of this was that today was the last day to get the game cheap, and I let that time expire. And that was that, basically. That was the end of that process. There was a situation, a game that I have genuinely been waiting for to come down in price so that I can pick it up and do what I do with most games these days and just add it to my library and never play it. Came up on sale today. In that scenario I was talking about, through a different company. So would require real actual money. And as we're going to find out in a bit, real actual money is a little bit of a problem at the moment. So, yeah, I thought for shits and giggles, I'd give you a small insight into what it's like being in my head for 2 days. Again, like I say, 2 weeks. I exhaust myself. If it's any help or consolation to anybody that had to listen to that absolute diatribe of just nonsense, I do genuinely exhaust myself. But it doesn't seem to stop anything. So maybe it's why I'm tired all the time, he says, knowing that that's going to trigger a yawn. Let's have another insight. I've had this thing recently where I've had some big ticket job items, like the big ones, the really, really big ones. Service and MOT to book. Couldn't book the service and MOT until I'd booked the car in to have some tyres fitted. So, one job that needed doing off the back of another job that had to be done so that the other job could be done. I keep going, it's kind of hard to explain, but then I would just try and explain it. So let's try and explain this one. I've been feeling recently like there's been too much going on. There's been too much to do, too much to sort. I had that thing, what will it be, like a couple of weeks ago, where I had like the parties and the sleepovers and all the parents to deal with, all the children to deal, not deal with, but to sort of organise around. You're talking about 8 children. I think in the end there's like 5 parents. No, 7 lots of parents, including like the sleepover and stuff. There was like other parties as well, all sorts of stuff. And I felt that because these things were quite big, sort of major life event things, that they needed to be right. And because of that, I needed to give everything to them. And because of that, I wasn't able to take anything else on. I wasn't able to put anything else on my plate because these things were just too big. Coming out the other side of that, I did the cool. We got through it. We survived. Nobody died. Nobody got injured. It's a win. It's a tick in a box. Boom. And not let my guard down, but allowed myself to relax a smidge. It was just a smidge. Now then, the whole time this is going on, there is another part where the rest of it's going, yeah, but don't forget, you've got all these other things to sort, and not long to do it. So, just want you to bear these things in mind. And I said, yes, I know. It's fine. Just give me 2 minutes. 2 minutes was a little more than 2 minutes, as I'm sure we can understand. And next thing, there's a conversation about, when's that MOT due? It's due next week. Okay, so the tyres need doing. And the MOT needs booking. At a garage that is notoriously 2 weeks behind. Cool. Anything else? Yeah, I got an email from my internet provider telling me that my contract was due to expire. And if I stayed on the contract that I was on, they were going to up the bill by a considerable amount of money. Bearing in mind that I've had nothing short of a complete and utter fucking nightmare with this company, because the one thing I give them money for, they can't provide. So, obviously, if you give them a ring, they'll be able to sort something out for you, get you down onto a lower tariff. And I went, how about we get the fuck out of here? So that needed sorting. But it's fine. Everything's online these days. So I contacted the nearest possible equivalent internet provider and said, hey, give me some of your delicious internet. And they said, sure, we'll do it cheaper. And I said, brilliant. And we'll do it for free. And I said, fantastic. And they said, we'll also give you a bajillion other things on top. And I was like, this is brilliant. They were like, you want to do it? I was like, I want to do it. And they said, cool. We'll see you in a month. And I said, no, firstly, that's insanity. You can't provide that service within a month. And secondly, I need it inside the next 2 weeks. But it's okay, because not in any way suspicious, not in any way strange, odd, or anything, in no way, shape or form, having put my full address into an internet provider's website, a man knocked at the door. Just randomly out of the blue, just happened to be in the area for that particular internet provider and was like, hey, do you want some internet? Now then, in this scenario, I was unavailable, otherwise occupied. It's also known as working. And I was also getting sorted to go and collect children, and also very nicely go out for the evening. Indeed. So Lan dealt with the internet man and said, I believe that he's looking to switch, and I believe, weirdly, strangely, it's to your company, but I know he had some questions. All right, get him to give us a ring. So all these jobs piling up, mounting up, all these things that need sorting, solving, and resolving. Time is very quickly running out. And I know what you're thinking. Your organisation skills are terrible. And my only response to that is, it was just too much. I couldn't dedicate the time / brain power to it, because I didn't have either. I couldn't physically fit these things in as jobs because I didn't have the time to fit them in. I couldn't dedicate the brain power to these problems because I physically didn't have it. Things feel at the moment like they're running at about 900 miles an hour, and I feel like my capacity is about 300 miles an hour. And it feels like that at all times. So, I end up in a situation where I'm getting sorted and ready. I'm literally stepping into the shower to get ready to go and collect children and then go out for the evening. And then, through what I've affectionately named through a dickhead intervention, everything changed. And I didn't necessarily need to get in the shower. Let's put it that way. So I showered and I got dressed and chunted a bucket full, and then I was like, okay. Every cloud. I listened to a podcast that very day. In fact, it wasn't a podcast, it was a TV program. I was watching a TV program that very day, and a character said, even when the worst things happen, something good comes out of it. And I said, I've gone from having a very busy evening to nothing to do. So that has happened for a reason. And the reason is because I've got a big pile of jobs that need doing, and they have to be done. So let's do those. Now, honestly, I'd have much rather been doing what I had planned to do. But you've got to make the most of the time you've got. So let's get it done. So, job number 1, let's get some tyres sorted. Over to the internet. Did a googly moogly. Give us some nice cheap tyres, because I'm from Yorkshire. Found some lovely tyres, reasonably priced. Could do it through this website, and they were like, just basically tell us where you want to go, and we'll sort it. I was like, cool. Here's fine. Even though. And I don't want to foreshadow anything, but even though here was not fine, but I thought it's some tyres. How wrong can it go? Wink, wink. Anyway, tyres sorted. Because tyres were then sorted, that allowed me to phone the garage. Now then, tyres sorted was weird because I'm expecting to wait like a week or something. And they're like, we can do them tomorrow if you want. Like, tomorrow's good, but not good at the same time. What else you got? They were like, Sunday? Like, really? They're like, yeah, pick your time. I'm like, mid-afternoon? They were like, sure. Sold. Like, okay. At this point in time, I'm like, well, that was quick and painless. Like, right, tyres are sorted. Now time to sort the big one. Let's get the service and MOT booked for probably 2 weeks' time. I was like, hi, I'd like a service and MOT, please. And they said, when? At your earliest convenience? I was like, the MOT's due in like a couple of weeks, so before then? They were like, Tuesday? Yes. Cool, drop off in the morning. Okay. Right. Something weird is happening here. So, 3 jobs to do. 2 ticked off in timely manners and well inside the time frame needed. I'm like, well, I best phone the internet man because I'm on a roll right now. 20 minutes later, I had new internet booked. An agreement that they would get it installed before my other one runs out. An agreement that I didn't have to pay for it for any installation. I didn't have to pay for the internet for the next X number of months. When I do end up paying for it, it'll be, I don't know, nearly 20 quid cheaper than I would be paying. And just on and on and on. Double data. They were doing things to my mobile phone. It just went on and on and on and on. And honestly, the whole time I'm like, yeah, well, let's see what happens when the shit starts hitting the fan X amount of time down the line, like it did with the last one. And let's see what happens there. But until then, this is all feeling pretty good. The guy's like, hey, if you sign on the dotted line, obviously metaphorically, then I can get it all sorted for you. I was like, let's do this. So that was that sorted. At this point in time, I'm like, do I need to go and buy a lottery ticket? Because this is completely unheard of. 3 jobs to do, 3 jobs done. Like I say, not the evening I would have liked, but you've got to wonder, did those jobs go the way they'd gone? Was it like some sort of payoff? Who knows? I went to a gig. Oh boy. Strap yourselves in, kids. This is going to be a long one. I'm looking at how long this podcast has gone already, and I'm like, whoo, now we get to the long bit. I went to a gig. Honestly, I was praying for some sort of like natural disaster by the time Saturday rolled round. All I kept saying to people was, if I could walk out my front door and step through the front door of the venue, I'd be fine. But as I can't do that, there is nothing I want to do in the middle. I don't want to have to drive, because it was in Manchester. I was like, I don't want to have to drive to Manchester. I don't want to have to drive around Manchester trying to find parking. And I then don't want to have to try and find the venue from where I park. I don't want to have to go and stand and wait to get into the venue. I do want to see 3 of the 4 bands I'm going to see. And then from the point the last band goes off stage, I don't want any part of it. I don't want to have to find the car. I don't have to pay for the parking. I don't want to have to drive 90 minutes home. And I don't want to get home at 1 o'clock in the morning to be getting up 6 hours later. I don't want any of that. I just want that tiny bit in the middle. It's not a tiny bit because it was 4 hours. But you got to take the rough with the smooth, kids. So, around about 5 o'clock on Saturday, I jumped in the car, set the sat-nav for a car park I thought I was going to, and set off. And, yeah, basically regretted every moment of that decision. I have driven to Manchester many times at this point in time, and all I will say is this. I honestly don't know how Manchester works as a place you can drive to. Every single human being on the face of the earth will tell you to never drive to Leeds because it's the absolute worst place to drive to. And what I would say to that is take to drive to off that sentence. Anyway, I wouldn't drive to Leeds because of a multitude of reasons. I'm starting to get to the point of feeling the same about Manchester. I don't understand how Manchester works. It's like, here's all these massive streets, here's all these massive roads that are populated by the most mentally insane human beings you are ever going to come across, and every single one of them is behind a death machine. So there's that. Then, oh, by the way, we've added some tiny little twisty-turny roads that have got parked cars on both sides, which we're going to send you down at regular intervals. We're going to pop you out into some of the worst areas you can imagine. And the entire time this is happening, your sat-nav's going to be telling you you're going the right way, and you're going to be feeling like you're not. And then, at the very end, 2 things are going to happen. 1, we're going to close the road you need to go down. And 2, any diversion from there is going to be restricted driving. You need permits and all sorts. Good luck to you. So that was my journey, basically. That was exactly my journey. I got to a point where I was like, I'm going to have to bail on this car park situation. And almost at that exact moment, a car park magically appeared. And I went, I recognise that car park. I've parked there before. Fuck it, I'm going there. Hang a left, in we go, job done. Went up onto the second level of a multi-storey car park and got parked because it was empty. I'm like, let's go with this. Into the maps. Okay, where am I? You're 6 minutes walk away from the venue. Sweet. Let's get to the venue. Got to the venue. There was about 500 people queuing outside. I was like, that's interesting. Because it said doors open at 7. And it's now nearly 20 past 7. And you've got 4 bands to get through. Well, this should be fun. I got to the front of the queue, which then turned into an issue because they were stopping people going in, but not stopping everybody going in. So the people behind me started kicking off, at which point I thought it was going to turn into a bit of a problem, and it didn't, but it nearly could have. What was said by a guy behind me was, mate, there's a band on right now that I would actually like to see, to the guy that was stopping people going in, but not stopping everyone going in. And I went, the bands are on now? What the fuck are we doing outside then? I'm not going to lie, because, you know, these things are difficult to deal with and hard to organise, how to sort of coordinate. But if your doors open at 7 and your first band goes on at past, every single person should be in the building at that point in time. Just saying. As we start going up the stairs, because the venue for this particular one is upstairs, start going up the stairs and I can hear music and I'm like, that's not recorded music, that's live music. And that's one of the bands that I wanted to see. Not the one band I didn't want to see. You motherfuckers. Finally get up there. Also managed to go to the toilet, which, let's put it this way, been a long while coming. And in we go. So first band on is Union Underground. Union Underground have done some absolute bangers, is the way I would put it. Weird thing is, I'm starting to feel like they've maybe only ever released one album. Because at one point they were like, we're going to play a song you've never heard. Like, okay, go on then. And every other song I had heard. And I've only ever heard one of their albums. So I was a bit like, ooh. Also, something I realised recently, having listened to said album, is I think they might be religious. I think they might be a religious band. It freaked me out a little at my realisation, and let me just how would I think I'd just have to do it. Okay, it's not coming. I'm putting individual letter. Oh wait, we might be getting somewhere close. Yeah. Oh, hang on a minute. Okay. I never realised that. Oh, here we go. I'm just looking at this. So there's no specific mention. There's no specific specific thing that says that they are a religious band, but there is a few mentions around the fact that their music has a lot of religious connotations, which, you know, I think I'd honestly rather my music without any religion. I recently, I remember telling somebody not too long ago that they should listen to Ozzy's last album, and harped on about how great it was, and then I then listened to Ozzy's more recent album and went, there's a lot of religious stuff in this. So that felt weird. So Union Underground, played a lot of songs I knew, I enjoy, and then played their two massive hits. One being one that I originally saw connected to a Batman Beyond video, and another one which I went, I'm pretty sure this is connected to the WWE, which it actually was. It was the Raw theme tune back in the noughties. So that was that. They went off. They changed the stage over. A little bit later, a band called Non-Point came on. Honestly, I've heard the name. I have never heard a single thing they've ever done. And while standing there, I imagine there's a reason for that. Because if you're on the bill with these three other bands and I've never heard of you, it can only mean one thing. My review of them as a band would have to be, just because you're loud doesn't mean you're good. It might maybe help if people could understand what your lead singer was saying. And nothing about that music did anything for me. I don't want to be coming across as negative, because I think by now my thoughts and feelings around sort of music, artistry, etc., are fairly well known. I'm very for these things, but yeah, it just didn't do anything for me. So moving on, 2 of 4 bands down. Now then, I went to see 3 of the 4 bands. Absolutely wanted to see 3 of the 4 bands. Band number 3, Hed PE. Now, me and Hed PE go way back. Mine and Leanne's song is Hed PE's song. And it's just that thing. I've been there since the beginning. I've seen them many times live. I sort of attribute a photo of me and Jared, the lead singer of Hed PE, as being one of the sort of nails in the coffin of me sorting out my weight originally, and so on and so forth. Their latest album is hands down one of the best albums they've done, and to say that it's been done 30 plus years into a career. Let me just, because part of me is like, was it this year or last year? 23. Which means that I need to now find out when Machine Head. Oh, what's it called? Oh, balls. I want to call it Through the Ashes, but it isn't. It is Of Kingdom and Crown. Of Kingdom and Crown. Friggin' release date. Allow Google to access your location. Why don't you piss off? Feel Like it might have been 22. Yeah, I was 22. Okay, so yeah, right. Okay. I have this big bee in my bonnet about music over the last couple of years because I believe Hed PE and Machine Head released possibly their best albums at this point in their career. Machine Head's latest or last album, which turned out it was 22, is hands down one of the best albums they've ever done, if not possibly the best album they've ever done. Hed PE's latest album from 23, it is up there with the first two. It's an absolute fucking banger. The sheer joy that album brought me when I was like, wow, you guys are still hitting it out of the park. So, was very much looking forward to seeing them live. And for the most, they didn't disappoint. Couple of songs they did, I could have happily lived without. And I felt a little bit like the time they put into those, they were robbing me of a couple of other tracks I would have liked to have heard live again, because they were tracks that they have played live previously. However, I was able to get the big ones. They started out with 2 tracks off the latest album, went into like original stuff, played mine and Leanne's song, got loads of bits and pieces on video. I was thinking of this at the time. I was like, it was a solid 8 out of 10 performance. Absolutely sort of elevated the night for me, because by that point I'd stood with my old man body through 35 minutes of a band that I just had no interest in. And by that point, Union Underground were that bit further away. So it was like, I need this to be good. And they were. Absolute corker. I was buzzing by that point. So the biggest gap of the night was then to follow, and then the headline Soil came out. Now, downside was what I knew already. They were coming out to do a Scars only set. Scars was their first album. It launched them into sort of stardom because, it was their first album. So they come out to do this, and I'm less than enamoured by the idea, but I'm like, I haven't seen Soil for a few years. I've always enjoyed them. I've sort of some very fond memories of spending time with various members of the band. The guitarist and bass player practically pleading with us to go to an after party and stuff like that, spending a night drinking with the lead singer of Soil, and then feeling somewhat responsible, finding out 2 days later that he'd had a stroke. And still to this day, I'm like, I still feel partially responsible, because we drank like we were we were trying to drink all of the drinks. So it's a band that in a lot of ways close to my heart. However, they're coming out to do their first album in its entirety. And I knew full well that their number one hit single from that album is like the second or third track. I'm like, you are absolutely not playing that second or third wherever it features on the list. I almost think it's second. So you're gonna save that till the end. So you're gonna play the entire album up to that point. They had a hard curfew, so I was like, you're not gonna be chatting too much shit in between. So it should be fairly tight, But it's the first album, you know. I was like, yeah, but I wanted to hear this, I wanted to hear this, I wanted to hear this. 3 tracks in, I was like, yeah, the thing I forgot in all of this was Scars launched Soil into stardom. And for a first album, it is an absolute monster. Every track on that album is a banger. Now, I've heard it and heard it and heard it over the years. They were saying it's like 30 years. That's part of the reason that they were doing a Scars only set, etc., etc. I was freaking loving it. I was like, I don't have this album on my phone. I wonder if I can buy it to listen to in the car on the way home and stuff like that. It was a monster. Fantastic. Well played. Everything was just banging. So we get to the back end. They play the single from the album, Everybody Goes Mental, and that's that. Or so the third of the people who left thought. Because in actual fact, they came back out and did their cover, which is a well-known cover at this point in time, of Black Betty. It was great. It was banging. Off they went. And that was the end of that. Few things about the event. Every other person in that building was vaping the entire time. All I could think was, if I pulled out a cigarette or a cigar right now and lit it, the place would be in absolute uproar. However, nobody's batting an eyelid that every other person is vaping. By the time I left that building, I couldn't speak. My mouth and throat was so dry, I wouldn't have been able to form a word. All I needed was a drink or something. In the end, I had to have like a chewy sweet when I got to the car, and that sort of started to sort me out. But I was so dry. The other thing that amused me being there was that, like I said, this was a band that had been going 30 years. The people that were there were not exactly young. I was stood with these 3 guys, and we're all stood in various different old man poses. It was hilarious. And yeah, there was a travel issue. At one point in time, I'd looked to see if I could go to Tim Hortons. It was a 25-minute drive away from where I was, and I was like, I can't justify that. And I was real disappointed because I was like, I'll go get a little coffee for me drive home and like get the kids some Timbits, get Leanne a donut and stuff. And I was like, I'm annoyed. I'm sad. But hey. I drove past the end of the street. I could see Tim Hortons from the traffic lights that I was parked at. I was in the wrong lane to turn right. I'm kind of glad I didn't do a manoeuvre of any description because there was a copper coming the other way. But yeah, I was like, hang on a minute. Have I been driving for 25 minutes and I'm still in Manchester? Honestly, the fucking place is just baffling. I enjoyed it and I'm glad I went. I just wish that everything, the hard shell of this sweet was a little softer, let's say. Hey, do you remember how I said I managed to sort all those jobs the other day? And yeah, I felt real lucky. Yeah, it was a setup, wasn't it? Because you guys forgot that I am one of the single most unlucky human beings to have ever walked this earth. So when I went to take my car to get the tyres done yesterday, and the place I took it to, I've had issues with in the past, and I'll leave that there, were like, oh, we can't get your locking wheel nuts off. Oh, right. You're a place that does tyres. Yeah, no, they're knackered. You're going to have somebody remove them. We know a guy who can do it for a lot of money. Like, all right. That's cool. So I went and collected my car and drove away. It's all right, though, because they've kept hold of the tyres that I've already paid for. So that's good. Popped into my garage this morning. I was like, place took my car to do the tyres. Said they can't get the wheel nuts off. It's in for an MOT in the morning. They were like, bring it in, we'll have a look. I was like, lovely, thank you. And that right there is the difference. Right, looking at how long this has been going on, we should probably jump to something else. No movies. Movies. I keep saying this, and I know it's not helpful. I'm working through these TV shows, which has now gone back to being plural, which is part of the problem, and it's just killing any movie watching. I feel like I've been watching these things for a while. I've got this pile of films to work through, and I'm just not. I watched that one a few weeks back, but it took me best part of 3 weeks to watch it. So anyway, I have nearly finished series 3 and what will be the final couple of episodes of Mr. In Between. A particularly difficult episode. At this point in time in the story, the main character's daughter is the same age as my eldest, and has basically turned into an absolute nightmare. So yeah, it's a bit. I kind of find myself watching it like holding on, white knuckling, going, "Fuck! If this was what I was dealing with." I mean, Ray, the main character, is considered to be quite irrational, just lashes out at everything, overreacts to everything. All of this, I find myself going, I feel like he kept it together quite well there. I wouldn't have handled that situation like that. I think that says more about me than him. He's a fictional character, and I think I might be, yeah. So yeah, there was an episode that was particularly difficult to watch. Touched on the subject of drugs and just all sorts. That thing of, defiant children and what to do when you're faced with that. So yeah, a tough episode to watch. I struggled, and yeah, it just didn't get better the way it went through it. Till right at the very end of the episode, it sort of seemed to reconcile. I've been wanting to get through this, not like race through it, but I've been wanting to get through this so I could start watching series 2 of The Old Man. As I say, not getting through these things. So this evening, sat down on my own to eat my tea and went, well, I'll be able to watch more of Mr. In Between tomorrow when I jump on the treadmill. So why don't I stick the first episode of series 2 of The Old Man on now? Everyone's a winner. So that's what I did. We all know my opinions on Series 2s. Series 2 is generally the worst series because if you've got Series 1 and it was a success, you get a second series, but nothing's guaranteed, so you don't know if you're going to get a series, so you pour a lot of stuff into Series 1, and unfortunately, Series 2 tends to suffer. What we've ended up with so far, I've watched the first episode and gone, ugh. Because we're definitely 100% in Afghanistan. There's no digital CG, green screen. or any of that going on. Definitely in Afghanistan. Oh, yes, sir. That in itself is somewhat problematic because we're supposed to, you're supposed to believe that these two guys have got themselves over to Afghanistan when it doesn't look very good. So you've got that issue to contend with. It's a very slow start to the series. I was very much wanting them to be sort of to be kind of up and running from the get-go, but it's been a slow start. And we are very much faced with... The series is called The Old Man. And ultimately it's two old men trying to do stuff. It's a bit like... what did we sign up for here? And then the other thing was the first episode ended with like this major cliffhanger, which wasn't a cliffhanger in any way, shape or form, because you're like, oh, did that happen? Or is there 8 other episodes to watch? Because, I wonder what happened there. It was a bit like, come on. Anyway, I'm sure I'll, stick with it until I can't. Couple of flat games to talk about. One just gives sort of a cursory mention to, and the other one is also just a cursory mention. I got the latest batch of Humble Choice games. Was disappointed to start with, and then I looked and I was like, oh, actually that one doesn't look too bad. So a Warhammer game, Warhammer Dark Tide. Locked and Loaded is its full title, it seems to be. And I went, that's not for me. And then I saw a little video. I was like, oh, it's a first-person shooter. Oh, I've not had a first-person shooter on there for ages. That absolutely looks like it'll tickle my fancy. Unfortunately, it was massive, so I needed to delete a load of games off the Steam Deck to be able to install it. Which I did. I was like, no, I want to play this. Let's get all this stuff uninstalled, and I'll get this installed. And it was like, okay, let's spend the next 45 minutes building your character. And I was like, oh, wow. It just kept asking me questions. Question after question after question after question. And I didn't understand any of it. I didn't understand the options available. I was just like, just trying to make the best possible decision, choice, whatever. Got so far, I was like, I'm not even sure this makes any difference. So I got a bit more loosey-goosey with my options towards the back end. And that was that. Away we go. We're in the game. It's like, you can swing this melee weapon like this. And if you've got a gun, you can shoot it like this. And I went, yes, I am with you. And it was like, right, let's get into it. I was like, okay. And I did the beginning bit and I played through it. And I was like, yeah, this works for me. And then they were like, here's some weapons. I was like, cool. I played through. And they were like, right, let's get you into the next bit of the game. It's like, cool. And they were like, okay, so now you need to train. Right. Okay, was that not what I just did? And they were like, no, you need to learn how to play the game. Right. Okay, I'll do that then. And it was a little bit more complicated than a hack and slash or a first-person shooter might normally be. But I was like, yeah, I'm prepared to give this a go. And I've got some sort of cool, sort of special moves and this and that. And then it was like, right, okay, it's time for you to get into the game. Like, oh, okay. It's like, pick a level. Like, yeah, okay, I want to do this level. They're like, okay. I was like, it seems to have like multiplayer. I don't want multiplayer, so I turned it off. I just want a private game, please. None of those other people to play with. And it went, okay, you can't do that unless you've got friends. I was like, oh, well, I don't have friends. It was like, oh, well, then you can't do that. You have to play it online. And I said, fuck you. Put it on, tried playing online, and I was like, I don't feel that this is for me, purely because I don't know what I'm doing. I presume the other 3 people I'm playing with do, and they think I'm useless. So I'm going to leave this game in the hope that you find someone better to play with. And then I uninstalled the game. What was the point in that? I went back to the description of the game, and the first thing in the description was multiplayer. I was like, well, that's just on me then, isn't it? I should have looked for that. Because all I saw was first-person shooter and went, great. It's multiplayer. Not great. Uninstalled. Why set me up showing me all the stuff that the game can do to then go, oh, by the way, it's multiplayer. A very anticlimactic experience. I played and finished, I know, right? The Force Unleashed 2. I really enjoyed it. There are some issues with Force Unleashed 2 that the Force Unleashed didn't have. Force Unleashed 2 adds quick time events, which I think we can all agree are universally hated. It overuses them as well. Something I completely forgot about the second one compared to the first one is that in the second one he's got 2 lightsabers. Completely forgot that. Was like, oh man, this is loads cooler. The force powers are dialed up. They are kick-ass in the second one. But it really is ruined by a couple of small changes. The quick time events and the overuse of them. Like certain enemies can only really be taken down with these quick time events that are all the same, which is weird because in the first one your like kills for big robot things were different. You had different versions, but they're just the same in the second one. However, playing it again after all this time, just a super enjoyable experience. I honestly think that we should really get a remaster of both of them. I'd love one of those remaster reboot things where they take the game and just rebuild it from the ground up. Like Resident Evil 4 and Dead Space. That would be chef's kiss. I had this conversation recently, but I personally would put those games up against the more recent Jedi games, Jedi Fallen Order, Jedi Survivor. Jedi Survivor was fucking awful. Fallen Order was great. So, you know, little 6 1 half dozen the other kind of situation. Okay. I've got 3 more. This podcast is going, I'm telling you. I'm gonna go quick here. I'm gonna give you some punchy reviews. Blade and Sorcery Nomad. Bought solely off the back of the fact that it has had a single player added to it. I put it on, played it. No single player. I went, what the fuck is this shit? Because honestly, I'm not here for sandbox mode. And if you've sold me a game that doesn't have the thing I bought it for, me and you are going to fall out. Turns out that my Quest just hadn't updated the game, allegedly. I haven't gone back to check, but apparently it's part of this big update. And when I looked, there was a 5.5 gig update that needed doing on the Quest. And it just hadn't done it. I think it was probably because of the size of it. I don't think it would do that on its own. So I told it to update, and apparently it's done that. I've also played Death Horizon Cyber Fusion. Now, Death Horizon, whatever the rest of that title is a game that I played not too long ago and thoroughly enjoyed. It was kind of like a hidden gem. I think I might have even come across it on some sort of like hidden gem video of some description. Really enjoyed it. I think I paid like £7 for it or something and just absolutely enjoyed it. So when I saw that they'd done like this other thing, I was like, interesting. Started seeing more and more about it. Started to get a bit more sort of traction. Wasn't expensive because it's technically early access. I was like, go on then. I'll give you £4 for it. Let's have a look. Early reports say it's all right. There's a couple of things I'd tweak on it already. And going into the second level, I managed to die, which was a bit of a pain in the bottom. However, whilst playing the start of the second level, I leveled up, which allowed me the option to buy a weapon upgrade. I bought it, equipped it, and it was a bit of a game changer. Also remembered that, part of the game is that you get cyber enhancements, which are like gauntlets, and which I'd completely forgotten about. So I was like, I need to do that again at a later point. Let's face it, the reason we're all here is to talk about Metro Awakening, the VR Metro game. I've been waiting for it for ages. I've been following it all the way through. It finally got released. I'd already pre-ordered it and prepaid for it. So it was cocked, locked, and ready to rock by the time I was ready to play. And something I need to remember for future is if you're seeing a lot of early gameplay of a game that you look forward to, a game that you're excited for, you have to bear in mind that those early videos are probably people who have been given access to the game in return for very favourable reviews / previews. Now then, I have already made it sound like I don't like this game, and that was the case day one. So much about this game I didn't like. Terrible turning. That 45-degree turning thing that some VR games do. Hate it. Shouldn't be a thing. Can't turn it off. No ammo count for your guns. What a fucking nightmare. The game is hands down too dark. And no, I don't mean the content. I mean, it's just too dark. I've already had to turn the brightness up once. Then I've had to turn it up again. You just can't see anything. Day one, I played it, and fuck me, it was slow. I've never had a game, I don't think, get going that fast before. It was very much let's have a quick chat. Oh, we're under attack. Quick, jump on that massive gun and shoot all the monsters. And I went, shit, okay, let's do this. 20 minutes later, I'm screaming at one of the main characters going, give me a fucking gun. It was like pulling teeth by that point. That then quickly followed by me not playing it for a series of days. And I had time to sort of ponder on it, think about it, mull over it, realise that certain aspects of it are the way they are for a particular reason. Certain things just they're just a game that needs an update. Certain things are things to get used to. And I was looking forward to getting back to playing it. Like I say, had to wait a few days, went back in. Finally managed to get back in last night, and yeah, the game took a bit more of a turn. That turn was I started enjoying it a lot more. So that's the first bit. Secondly, the controls are only an issue when you're wandering around. They're not as much of an issue when you're shooting or in any sort of firefight, I would say. And yes, the game is dark, but it's supposed to be. So there's that. Something that I wasn't prepared for, and something that I was a bit like, I wasn't expecting this from this game, and then realised I'm not entirely sure what I was expecting from this game. It's a bit scary. Because I wasn't expecting like an actual horror element to the game. It's come as a bit of a shock. And it has used a few jump scares. It has used the dark. It has used sort of horror tropes quite a bit. Which I'm a bit like, we're talking about VR here. This is stepping on dangerous ground. Something else, it's quite gory in certain ways. We're not talking blood and guts and things like that. We're talking more sort of severed body parts, but when you find bodies, you don't find them in the best of ways or in the best of conditions. I don't want to spoil anything, but I've had a couple of points where I'm like, you don't want me to walk through there because that's just horrible. And then realising, yes, the game absolutely does want you to walk through there. It's a bit like, oh, can we not? It's certainly a lot better than I thought it was. I think I was just being overly harsh to start with. And it's certainly one that I am looking forward to playing more. I find it hard to turn off. I find it hard to sort of walk away from it. Looking at the time, won't get any this evening, but tomorrow, oh baby, the big dog's on his own. So definitely we're going to be getting some in then. And that is that. Sorry for, I was about to say sorry for the erratic nature of this podcast. It's just been a bit of a weird one. I think we can all agree on that. That's it. I'll speak to you next time. So there we go. What do you think to that? Another one done. Another one gone. Sorry for rambling. Yeah, sometimes it just gets away from you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. Before you go, please do consider like, share, subscribe, and comment. Leave a review where you can leave a review, and check out the website, thecookiecast.com. There we have social media links and an email button. That way you can get in touch with us. That is it for this one. Until next time, I'm going to say bye, and I'll see you then.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Cookie Cast.